Napa Cabernet is supposed to be the crown jewel of American wine. Thick skins, long macerations, elevated tannin, and months of élevage in oak barrels, often a mix of French and American, all designed to build structure, depth, and longevity. By law, if the label says Cabernet Sauvignon, at least 75% of what's in the bottle must actually be Cab. Everything else, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Cabernet Franc, exists to shape texture and balance. But labels lie by omission. Words like reserve, estate, and single vineyard can signal care, or they can signal marketing. Sub-A-V. As like Oakville, Rutherford, and Stag's Leap District hint at pedigree, but they don't guarantee pleasure. So tonight we're ranking 10 iconic Napa Cabs from worst to best by one rule that never lies. After the first glass, do you want a second? Let's start at the bottom. Number 10, Beringer. Beringer is the kind of name that feels older than Napa itself. It shows up everywhere, restaurants, weddings, grocery aisles, and that's both its strength and its problem. When a wine becomes this available, it starts being built for reliability instead of revelation. In the glass, Beringer's entry-level Napa Cab usually opens soft and simple. Ripe black cherry, a touch of vanilla, mild tannin, quick finish. It's friendly, it's clean, it almost never offends, but it also rarely surprises. The structure is light, the mid-palate thins out quickly, and the oak tends to speak louder than the fruit. What Beringer does extremely well is accessibility. This is Cabernet for people who want something recognizable that won't argue back. It pairs easily, pours easily, and disappears easily. That last part is the issue, because when the most memorable thing about a Napa Cab is how fast it empties, that's not a compliment. Second glass test. You'll pour again out of habit, not curiosity. And in a ranking about intent, that's why Beringer finishes last. Number 9, Josh Cellars. Josh Cellars is a masterclass in modern branding. The label tells a story, the price feels safe, the bottle promises emotional value before you ever pull the cork. And to be fair, the wine inside is engineered very carefully to deliver exactly what most people expect. This Cabernet leans plush and polished right out of the gate. Ripe plum, sweet oak, soft tannins, low friction. It's built for immediate gratification. No decanting, no patience, no learning curve. You open it, you understand it, you move on. The problem is depth. Josh Cab is intentionally designed to avoid edges, which means it also avoids complexity. The mid-palate stays narrow, the finish fades fast, the structure doesn't evolve as the glass warms. It's not a bad wine, it's a strategically safe one. This is Cabernet as a product, not as a place. You're tasting consistency more than terroir. And while that sells millions of bottles, it limits how high it can climb here. Second glass test. Yes, you'll pour again, but only because nothing stopped you, not because something invited you. Number 8, Robert Mondavi. Robert Mondavi is where Napa stops feeling like retail and starts feeling like history. This is the house that helped teach America how to talk about Cabernet in the first place. And that legacy still shows up in the glass, at least in the better tiers. Mondavi Cab usually brings more discipline than the names below it. Firmer tannin, better acidity, more clearly defined fruit. There's an actual sense of structure here, not just sweetness and oak. The balance is deliberate. The wine behaves like it knows what it's supposed to be. But the range matters. At the entry level, Mondavi can still feel cautious. Polished, yes. Distinctive, not always. You're often tasting good technique without a strong point of view. Where Mondavi earns its place is reliability. This is Cabernet that almost always feels correct, even if it rarely feels thrilling. Second glass test. You pour again because the wine stays composed, not because it reveals new layers. That puts Mondavi squarely in the middle. Respected, competent, but not yet compelling. Number 7. Hess Collection. This is the first bottle on the list that clearly announces ambition. Hess doesn't just aim to be pleasant, it aims to be taken seriously. From the first swirl, you feel the shift. The aromatics deepen, the fruit darkens, the structure tightens. This is no longer a wine built for casual approval. It's a wine built around posture. Hess leans into elevation, extraction, and architecture. Blackcurrant, graphite, dark plum, and cedar form the core, supported by an oak frame that's no longer decorative, but structural. The tannins grip with purpose. The acidity finally has work to do. The finish doesn't fade politely. It holds its ground and asks for attention. What separates Hess from the bottles below is intent. This feels built, not assembled. You can sense decisions being made in the cellar. Maceration choices, oak regimes, aging timelines. The wine is asking to be engaged with, not simply consumed. Where Hess can stumble is weight. Sometimes the extraction runs a little long. Sometimes the oak presses too firmly. In those vintages, the wine loses lift and trades elegance for bulk. But when Hess gets it right, this becomes the first true cellar-style wine on the list. You can age it, you can decant it, you can argue about it. Second glass test. If you enjoy structure, the second pour is not just better than the first, it explains the first. And from here on out, the list stops being about good Cabernet and starts being about real contenders. If this list is already making you uncomfortable, hit like, subscribe for more rankings like this, and tell me in the comments which Napa Cab is overrated and which one is a steal. Number 6. Stag's Leap Wine Cellars. Stag's Leap enters this list carrying more historical weight than most bottles ever will. This is not just a winery, this is a reference point. A name tied forever to the moment Napa stopped being a regional curiosity and started being a global competitor. That history matters, but what matters more is how the wine behaves today, in the glass, without the legend doing the heavy lifting. The style here is controlled elegance. The fruit rarely shouts. You get black cherry, plum skin, graphite, a suggestion of dried herbs, all arranged in a structure that feels deliberate rather than decorative. The tannins arrive fine-grained, not aggressive. The acidity lifts the mid-palate instead of slicing through it. Nothing feels rushed. What separates Stag's Leap from the wines below it is proportion. Every element seems aware of the others. Oak doesn't dominate. Alcohol doesn't protrude. The wine unfolds in stages instead of collapsing into a single impression. There's a sense that this bottle was designed to age, not merely to impress at release. Where it occasionally loses ground is personality. Some vintages feel so polished they verge on distant. You admire the discipline more than you feel an emotional pull toward the glass. It's wine that earns respect before it earns affection. The second glass test works here in a quiet way. You don't crave the refill immediately, but you notice the wine improving with air. The finish lengthens. The structure relaxes. Stag's Leap takes 6th because it proves that pedigree can still translate into precision, even if it no longer chases drama. #5. Duckhorn. Duckhorn is where Napa Cabernet starts leaning unapologetically into luxury. This is a wine built to feel expensive from the first pour. The texture arrives first, plush, rounded, almost creamy across the tongue. The fruit is ripe and generous, blackberry, cassis, dark chocolate, wrapped in oak that smells like money and tastes like comfort. There's an immediate sense of polish here. Everything feels smooth, finished, curated. The tannins are present but never threatening. The acidity stays supportive, not confrontational. It's a wine designed to be enjoyed without friction, and it succeeds at that goal exceptionally well. What Duckhorn does better than most is consistency. Vintage to vintage, bottle to bottle, you know what you're getting. That reliability is part of the appeal. You open it for guests and you rarely worry about embarrassment. Where Duckhorn loses points is risk. This is not a wine that surprises you. It delivers pleasure, not revelation. The profile stays within a narrow lane of richness and polish. And while that lane is luxurious, it can start to feel predictable. The second glass test passes easily at first. The first refill is generous and satisfying. By the third pour, you realize the wine isn't changing much. It's excellent at being itself. It's less ambitious about becoming something more. Duckhorn lands at 5 because it represents modern Napa luxury done well. Seductive, reliable, and expensive feeling, even if it rarely challenges the drinker. #4. Honig. Honig is the bottle on this list that quietly wins people over without ever announcing itself. There's no theatrical oak regime, no oversized ripeness, no attempt to dominate the room. Instead, you get a wine that behaves like it understands restraint as a form of confidence. The fruit profile leans classic, black cherry, currant, subtle violet, supported by oak that integrates rather than decorates. The tannins arrive firm but civilized. The acidity keeps the wine upright, preventing it from sagging into sweetness or heaviness. Everything feels tuned. What makes Honig dangerous in a ranking like this is balance. It doesn't wow on the first sip. It doesn't flex power. It simply keeps making sense. With each sip, the wine feels more coherent rather than more impressive. This is where the second glass factor becomes decisive. The first pour is pleasant. The second pour is better. The third pour reveals new detail, a hint of earth, a mineral edge, a longer finish. Honig improves as your attention improves. Where it falls just short of the top tier is scale. It doesn't reach the same depth or architectural complexity as the bottles above it. It plays in a narrower, dynamic range. Honig earns fourth because it demonstrates one of Napa's rarest virtues: discipline. It doesn't need to be loud to be memorable. It only needs to be right. #3. Silver Oak. Silver Oak is not just a wine, it's a promise. When someone opens this bottle, they're not just pouring Cabernet, they're signaling intention. This is the bottle people save, the bottle people remember buying, the bottle that turns a dinner into an event. The style is immediately recognizable. Dark fruit, tobacco, cedar, vanilla, and that unmistakable house signature shaped by extended oak aging. The tannins arrive firm and structured, not plush. The acidity keeps everything standing tall. This is not a wine built for casual sipping. It's built for time. What separates Silver Oak from everything below it is architecture. You can feel the scaffolding inside the wine. The mid-palate has weight. The finish doesn't fall away. It recedes slowly, leaving a trail of flavor that keeps unfolding after you've swallowed. Where Silver Oak divides opinion is accessibility. Some drinkers find it too restrained when young. Others find the oak too pronounced. This is not a wine that tries to be immediately charming. It expects patience. The second glass test here is different. The first glass introduces the structure. The second glass explains it. The third glass starts to justify the reputation. Silver Oak takes third because it delivers something rare in modern Napa. A wine built around longevity rather than immediacy. It doesn't chase applause, it waits for it. And from here on out, this countdown stops being about excellence and starts being about philosophy. #2. Caymus. Caymus is the most polarizing bottle on this entire list, and that's exactly why it lands at #2. No Napa Cabernet inspires more arguments at dinner tables, wine shops, and comment sections. Some people call it irresistible. Others call it manipulated. Both sides are reacting to the same thing. Caymus refuses to be subtle. The first impression is unmistakable. The fruit is dark, ripe, almost saturated, blackberry compote, black cherry syrup, sweet spice. The texture arrives plush in coating, spreading across the palate with an ease that feels deliberately engineered for pleasure. The tannins are soft, the acidity restrained, the finish rounded and comforting. This is Cabernet built to seduce immediately. You do not need training to enjoy it. You do not need patience. You pour it, you smile, you understand why millions of bottles disappear every year. Where Caymus separates itself from the wines below is clarity of intent. This is not an accident of style. This is a philosophy. Caymus is built around one idea: make a wine that people love the moment it touches their tongue. And on that front, it succeeds more consistently than almost any other Napa Cab. Where the criticism begins is depth. Some vintages feel almost too polished. The sweetness of fruit can edge toward uniformity. The structure rarely evolves dramatically in the glass. You get pleasure, not transformation. The second glass test is revealing here. The first pour feels thrilling. The second pour feels indulgent. By the third, you may notice that the wine is not changing much. It is giving you the same pleasure again and again. Caymus earns number 2 because it represents the peak of modern Napa crowd-pleasing. It may divide purists, but it delivers exactly what it promises: immediate, luxurious enjoyment at scale. And that kind of precision, even when controversial, deserves respect. Number 1, Heitz Cellar. Heitz Cellar takes the top spot not because it is the richest, loudest, or most expensive bottle on this list, but because it operates by a different logic altogether. While much of modern Napa chases ripeness and impact, Heitz has spent decades chasing identity. The style here is restrained by design. The fruit leans fresh rather than jammy. Cassis, red currant, subtle floral notes. The oak supports instead of announces itself. The alcohol stays in check. The structure feels linear, almost classical, like a wine that would rather age than impress. What separates Heitz immediately is posture. This wine stands upright. The tannins are firm but fine. The acidity keeps the palate awake. The finish extends without sweetness. It feels like a wine built around longevity rather than release day applause. This is where the architecture becomes visible. With air, the wine opens slowly. New layers appear: earth, graphite, dried herbs, a faint savory edge. The glass becomes more interesting the longer you sit with it. The second glass test here is decisive. The first pour introduces the structure. The second pour reveals nuance. The third pour starts to explain why this wine has survived every stylistic fashion Napa has gone through. Heitz wins because it offers something rarer than luxury: continuity. It tastes like itself, decade after decade. It does not chase trends. It does not optimize for applause. It builds for time. In a region often accused of marketing over meaning, Heitz Cellar takes number 1 by proving that the highest form of Napa Cabernet is not volume, not ripeness, not prestige, but integrity. So that's our list. From bottles built to be poured without thinking, to wines built to be remembered long after the table is cleared. Some of these names trade on reputation. Others earn it in the glass. Now it's your turn. Which Napa Cab did we underrate? Which one doesn't deserve its price tag? Drop your picks in the comments and tell me what bottle you're opening next.